up the three dates that were just up on the screen just a moment ago. I don't want to put them back up for the congressman because you know the folks on the other side who sit on something called the Weaponization Committee and on all these other committees where they're really just, as you've said, they are the legal firm for Donald Trump. You're going to have in May, on May 20th, this classified documents trial hopefully begin without delay. But then you go to July, and we're at the Republican National Convention. Then you have a presidential election in November. It seems to me that there is zero chance that Republicans will not attempt to use that calendar, Congressman, to try to claim that this whole prosecution should go away. And I don't see how they don't do it. And how do you think that winds up playing out?
Well, as we've seen in the first 7 months of Speaker McCarthy's leadership, his entire agenda is about protecting Donald Trump, and that'll continue into next year. It's not about lowering the cost of health care or reducing gun violence in our community or making college more affordable. It's entirely about protecting Donald Trump, and that'll be put into high gear next year. But I want to make a point. Jack Smith can't make this prosecutor, and Glenn knows why. But we can make this point, which is if Donald Trump was so innocent and this prosecution was so rigged, wouldn't an innocent person subjected to a rigged prosecution crawl through glass and walk over fire to exercise their speedy trial right? Someone who is as innocent as Donald Trump claims he is would not want to delay justice. The whole point of a speedy trial right, which he could use and go to trial pretty quickly, is to protect people who are wrongfully accused. And so he's sure acting like a guilty person.
You know, it's a really good point, Glenn, except that he then would have to claim that he's equally innocent in like half a dozen cases. He's got the case in New York. Let's just do that calendar. Here's another calendar for you. October 2nd, 2023, you've got the AG civil fraud trial. January 15, 2024, the E. Jean Carroll civil trial, in which he defamed her again, allegedly. January 29, 2024, federal class action lawsuit trial. And this is the New York case, another New York case. The New York hush money trial is going to take place March 25th, and then May 20th, you have this trial. They all can't be speedy trials. They all can't take place at the same time. How does this wind up getting sequenced, do you think?
Yeah, his prosecution dance card couldn't be fuller. And I think there will have to be some at least communication, maybe not coordination or cooperation among the various jurisdictions, but at least some communication. They're going to need to prioritize these trials. Now, Joy, let me tell you, I was a federal prosecutor for 30 years, and the prevailing wisdom is the feds will ordinarily try to go to trial first. Now, that is no disrespect intended to state prosecutors, district attorneys, but I think everybody recognizes that the federal government has more resources. The federal government has an unrivaled conviction rate. I can argue both sides of whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they do because they only take the strongest cases to trial. I have a feeling the district attorneys might be happy to lay back and let the feds go first. I've always maintained that even though Donald Trump committed lots of state crimes and lots of federal crimes, he's a federal problem. And a federal problem can only be solved with a federal prosecution, though I am thrilled that Fani Willis is in the game and that D.A. Bragg is in the game. They're vindicating important rights of the citizens in their jurisdictions, but there's going to have to be some communication to prioritize Donald Trump's criminal trials.
Does that apply also? I mean, now that we know that the special counsel, Glenn, is speaking to Brian Kemp or has spoken with Brian Kemp, what does that indicate? Because we still don't know a date for a prosecutorial decision from Fani Willis.
Yeah, it just shows that Jack Smith is casting the widest possible investigative net. He's got to look at what Trump and Lindsey Graham and Mark Meadows and others did down in Georgia, just as he has to look to the other battleground states where there were fake electors, where there was Donald Trump calling governors and pressuring them. So this is Jack Smith continuing to saw the investigative wood in front of him.
Let me play a piece of sound for you. This is Steve Bannon and Roger Stone talking about what Donald Trump was going to do before the election even happened.